This is Chamber Chat on Chamber Channel 3 and 117.2, brought to you by Mansmith's Pharmacy, where your care is their only concern.
This is Chamber Chat brought to you by Mansmith's Pharmacy, and I'm Deb Height. Today we're visiting with Jean Eichmeyer, Physician's Assistant from Palo Alto County Health Systems. And welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you back again.
Yes, it's fun to be here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Well, it's great. Well, last time Jean was here, we were talking about some new programs that they offer out at the hospital, and we got talking about some things that we could, some subjects that we could bring to you off and on, and talk about what's kind of upcoming for the season or for what's going on in healthcare. So today, Jean, what are we going to talk about?
Everyone's favorite topic, skin cancer. No, I just, this really does fit in, though, very well with the emphasis here within our community and at the Family Practice Clinic and our Palo Alto County Health System, but also nationally. Illness prevention. You know, when people talk about preventive health care, it's all about what can we do at this point in our life to either postpone or not get those particular illnesses or health states, you know, that we would like to avoid. And skin cancer is one of them. People hear about it, people talk about it. When people have it, it can be very concerning. So today I want to talk about basically what it is, what types of skin cancer, what are the most common types of skin cancer, how we get it, and then of course, most importantly, how do we prevent it from occurring in the first place?
Well, we all have those little spots or
patches
or something that we look at once in a while and go, oh, that can't be anything.
Yep, everyone does. And I'm glad it should be part of your general wellness care. When you're in receiving health care, your provider generally will, at some point in the exam or when they leave, just take a look at you. But still, the onus of responsibility is on us to pay attention to our skin, do what we can, what we should do to prevent it, so that there aren't undesirable, untoward, and potentially deadly results from not taking care of it. And so skin cancer, what causes it? Well, first of all, there are some people who might have an intrinsic risk for skin cancer. Basically, you're talking about all of us, the Caucasian, people who are have lighter skin tones, who don't have as much melanin in their skin. And what happens is a consequence of environmental exposures, ultraviolet rays, it changes the cell growth of the epidermis. So when you think about skin, epidermis is on the top, you've got the dermis, and then you have the subcutaneous tissue, the fattier tissue. But those rays affect that surface skin. Some of them go even deeper, and they damage our DNA. They damage our cell structure. And then because of that, you have abnormal growth that can cause a tumor or just an abnormal proliferation of cells right there on the top of the skin. And that kind of sets the stage. I don't mean for that to be a lot of medical speak, but it'll make sense, I think, to people as I talk about this. So I want to talk about the most common types of skin cancer first.
Okay.
And the one that everybody knows about is, of course, melanoma.
Right.
And everybody should know about melanoma. And the more important thing is we all know about it, but it's still, you know, the one type of skin cancer that is so deadly and yet so, you know, taken for granted. Or you go, I won't get that, or I'll pay the price later. And I am going to refer to a couple of notes from time to time because I don't want to forget anything. But melanoma is a cancer of your pigment-producing cells, your melanocytes, so that's where it gets its name. It's the most dangerous type of skin cancer because of its ability to spread into our lymph system. Then once it gets there, it can spread to your organ systems, into your blood, and that's why melanoma does cause people to die. People really will die from skin cancer, and that is the one that is, again, the most deadly. If it's detected early, it can be cured. Melanoma is typed on, and I think an easy way for me to say it is on a scale of 1 to 4. So with the most superficial melanoma being the ones that can be excised from the skin, with deeper layers of the skin being affected, then sometimes a surgeon will need to go looking at your lymph nodes, getting biopsies to make, to see if they've been affected. If they have been, then it's on the scans. You can see where this, quickly can turn into something, really awful. So detected early. That goes way back to my opening comments about, taking care of your skin, being responsible enough to look at things. Yes, it's really hard to look at your own back. That's really tough. Get someone that you can depend upon to look at your back and see something that maybe isn't quite right. But melanoma is approached in terms of the ABCs. So it's asymmetry. So you might have half that looks funny. It might be kind of fading in someplace, but it's not a nice, round, discrete thing. It looks different. Mm-hmm. You might have half that's one color, half that isn't. Maybe half is kind of heaped up, the other half is smooth. So it's asymmetrical. That's what the A stands for. The B is the border. Most benign lesions are very, again, discrete. They are, you can just tell the difference between the light brown, the skin tone, or they're heaped up and rubbery, and they're, again, though, they're just right there. You have no issue. They're discrete. The border of a melanoma lesion, again, looks jagged or maybe, again, kind of fuzzed in. It's not, it seems to go in toward the other tissues. It's not discrete. It has an irregular pattern to the border. Okay. And then the C stands for color. Now, melanoma is strikingly dark. And it really is.
In all cases.
Yes. Even if it's a dark purplish red, most melanoma lesions are going to be very dark. Not uniformly dark brown, but really dark, almost black. They can take kind of a blue-blackish appearance to them. But mostly, a melanoma lesion just should make people go, oh. I mean, we're all used to looking at brown spots.
Right.
And at the little warty-like things that kind of pop up on our skin from time to time. But it just is. And if you go with your gut on this, if you see something on your skin that makes you a little nervous, have it checked. I think that's the simplest thing to do. But again, the key, the earlier we find them, the lower the grade, hopefully, and then we have a cure. Okay. And we don't have to go down surgery routes and, and again, death as it does happen. So that's melanoma. That's the big one. And when you think about skin cancer, it's either melanoma or it isn't. That's kind of, that seems very simplified, but that's really true. Of the non-melanoma cancers, you have basal cell and squamous cell. And these are the words. This is what you're going to hear from your care provider, from your dermatologist, from whoever. The basal cell is the most common form of skin cancer in the United States, though unfortunately, believe it or not, melanoma is catching up to it. It grows slowly. It's not likely to metastasize, to go into the organs or into the bloodstream. And the thing about basal cell, though, is when it's removed, it can lead to scarring. And lots of people don't care about that unless the basal cell lesion happens to be on your face.
Right.
So that's something that always involves a conversation, sometimes biopsy, and then depending upon the size and where it is, it's something that perhaps you'd want removed, by someone with a lot of experience in that. So that it is your face. You want that to look good. And the other type of non-melanoma cancer is a squamous cell. Now this looks very different. It is, that's on the epidermis, so it's red and rough and kind of scaly. People will come in and say, that never heals. That is just what people say. I've had this, I put on cortisone cream, I put on Vicks, whatever people put on their skin, and that's what they'll say, it does not heal. And that is a very common setup for us to go in and take a biopsy of that and to make sure that that's okay. And squamous cell lesions can be nicely excised with very good results. And sometimes just treated with cryotherapy too, which is liquid nitrogen, the freezing that we hear about. That's also a good treatment for that. So those are the basic types of skin cancer. Precancerous, commonly lesions around this part of our world are actinic keratoses. Don't you love these big words
Big
I'm
words,
throwing out?
yes.
Throw them out. Get your medical dictionary out, folks. But actinics they're just as common as dirt. They are the result of sun exposure, hands down. Age, sun exposure, and heredity, just because, again, of whatever your skin type might be. When I talk about them being so common around here, a lot of it, you see a lot, women have them, absolutely women have them, but hands down, men, especially farmers, are going to have, and construction workers, yes, all those road workers have them diffusely. And actinic keratoses in and of themselves won't, quote, turn into cancer. But they can really affect the skin. And when you think about the skin being our largest organ, it is our first line of protection. If you have arms full, earlobes full, foreheads full, cheeks full of actinic keratosis, your barrier is broken down and much more susceptible to skin infections. And with that epidermis being broken down, again with continued exposure, that's what sets up the risk factors for skin cancer. So that was a very quick and dirty 101 for skin cancer. Causes, I talked a little bit about, we have intrinsic and extrinsic factors. What the things you can't help, can't divorce your relatives, we can't,
Right.
If I come from northern Germany, my skin's going to be a certain way. But extrinsic are the things we can indeed control. And 90% of all skin cancer is from ultraviolet radiation. So that's from the sun, from the life that we live. And healthcare workers, physicians, and researchers knew this already in 1900. So this is not
Not new.
No, this is not new. And it's just that's how long people have decided to ignore it, or at least not practice good healthcare habits consistently. And, I will certainly be the first one to admit that I got more than my share of sun damage in my younger days. I have smartened up. I've learned from that, but nevertheless, I've caused a lot of damage. Ultraviolet rays, there are all kinds of, or all levels of radiation, but mostly we talk about UVA and UVB rays. And I think a good way to look at that is aging and burning.
Okay.
That's a nice, simple way to think about A and B. And so you've got the rays that affect that epidermis and will burn it, tan it, which is, again, just simply damaging your skin. So people might like how they look with the tan, but really it's just damaged skin. I'd like for people to think more about it that way, then perhaps, will help change some habits. And then the UVA, which is aging. There is no such thing as a safe tan. No, there just isn't. That is, it doesn't make sense.
But so many people,
Oh,
even
yes.
me in my younger days.
Oh, yeah. But
We're
there's no
interested in
such thing
having
as a safe tan.
Yep.
And that's true for tanning beds. That's absolutely, positively true for tanning beds. And they have, the owners of tanning booths have these warnings, so to speak, posted, because we ultimately can't save people from making bad decisions.
Right.
But the radiation that you're exposed to in a tanning bed, especially in terms of UVA, is like 20 minutes in a tanning bed is like 5 hours outside.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Just a bad idea, So all of you folks, I had a woman tell me one time, and I have to use this quote because it's one of the funniest things I ever heard. Because, of course, I'm yammering on her about being out and ruining her skin and getting leathery looking and brown and da-da-da. And she said, well, Jean, brown fat looks better than white fat. It was a hilarious comment, But I do think that has a lot to do with our attitudes about why we tan.
Right.
You know, somewhere along our society, and they really think it took hold starting in the early 60s, somehow we were brainwashed into thinking that, you know, a tan is a good thing. And unfortunately, and you know, and dermatologists have known forever that it's not a good thing because it will catch up to you at some point. You know, it's like tempting. It is tempting fate. But we know these things now, and so we really should be looking at a way to have a healthier lifestyle. And part of that is how I treat myself now directly affects where my health is going to be as I age. That's only sensible. And it's also part of why you maybe have read in the papers where the legislature is looking to prohibit, you know, pass laws to prohibit the use of tanning beds in people less than 18. And part of that is because when you're young, that's more time in general, you know, when you think about it, more years to go in and to have your skin damaged. Also, tanning beds are available year-round. So it's not like you're just spending from May to September hurting yourself. You know, you have the ability to damage your skin 12 months out of the year. Isn't that a great thing? But that's the deal. You know, if you set children up that much earlier, all you're doing is exposing them to a great deal of risk that much earlier.
Well, you were telling a story the other day about the young ages now.
Yes.
That people of much younger ages than we thought
Yes.
of having skin cancer issues.
When I have had the chance to be here before, we talked about some of the programs specifically for addressing skincare needs. But part of that interest for me personally is, and I've shared this with you before, it's a rare week that goes by in my practice that I'm not suspicious or biopsying or treating something that's abnormal on someone's skin. But the most alarming thing to me is how much younger people are. And we have had young people in their 20s with melanoma. And that's a very frightening thing. And in the United States, since the year 2000, this is such an alarming statistic, since the year 2000, we've had about a 2,000% increase in melanoma. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Is it related to the ozone? Or
ozone, and I think it's just catching up. You know, again, when you think about the age groups, now essentially that would be getting it, still at that point would be 40s, 50s, and older. We've done our share of damage, and I think that's part of it too, for us, to realize this and do what we can and protect ourselves, but also bring up that next generation living a healthier lifestyle. I think, that's reasonable, and it's the right thing to do.
Sure.
In my opinion, it's the right thing to do.
So what can we do to prevent this?
Well, I'm going to say the things that everybody already knows that they should do, but I'm going to say them anyway. You've got to protect your skin from the sun. And when you get a sunblock, SPF is a number that basically stands for how long can I be in the sun with this on as opposed to not having it on. So that's what SPF means. It's a sun protection factor. And I think the first myth to dispel is the higher the number doesn't necessarily mean you're getting that much more protection. It really is about the ingredients. When you purchase a sunscreen, look for one that's got a little zinc oxide in it for sure. I mean, that's what you need because you want the sun's rays to kind of be bounced back. You want that too, and that's remember the old zinc, the white stuff we used to put on it? Yeah. So anymore, we have good products that don't exactly make you look white and pasty like that. But it's absolutely important. It must be reapplied. You cannot put sunscreen on and be outside in your garden all afternoon and not reapply it. It's only good, no matter what they tell you, no matter what you read, sunscreen wears off in about 2 hours. And there's no such thing as waterproof sunscreen. It can be water resistant, but it's not waterproof.
That's interesting. I've always thought of it the other way.
Think about hats and I way say this for men, oh my goodness. Have you ever, I see a lot of skin, obviously, but when you think about scalps and how they'll burn, even those of us who have, a good head of hair to protect it, ears, so find a hat. Hats are back in vogue, but get one that is actually going to give you some shading. That's very important.
Got a brim on it all the way around.
And again, if you're going to be out all day, wear a nice, light cotton, long sleeves. It's fine. Slip that on at some point. You're not going to get hot in it. And when you think about it, what's more uncomfortable? Wearing a very light shirt for a while or having your skin quick fried and being itchy and dry and flaky, or worse, having blisters, which is second degree. So, I think, again, it's called common sense. And so we've talked about common sense, and we think, well, why don't people do it? Well, now that's interesting. I don't know. Except for the fact, again, we do have to kind of change our way of thinking. We need to do a better job of embracing our paleness.
There we go.
I just do. I think that's just something that we need to do. Trying to initiate a new habit, getting that sunscreen on and just putting it on every day. If you have it on every day, you don't think about it. It's like, putting on the coffee pot or, reaching for that vitamin. If you make it part of that habit, I think that's very important. Putting it in, women carry a lip gloss in their purse. Why not carry a little thing of sunscreen? Men out in the golf course. This is where I scrape lots of stuff off men. Earlobes and the nape of their neck. Again, to wear a broader brimmed hat. Yeah, who cares? You're playing golf. We don't care if you look like a geek. It's no big deal. But no, there are some great looking hats out there. But stick that sunblock in your pocket, reapply. It is just so worthy. But it's just important to think about it now so that you look great now, but more importantly, have healthy skin for your future.
Some makeups have SPF in them.
Yes.
And obviously, if we get all dolled up and we have our makeup on, we don't want to go out and slather a bunch of sunscreen on top of that.
That's right.
So is that the same thing, though? You have to reapply it?
Put your sunscreen on first. That might be another reason why people don't. There's a lot of sunscreens that are very, they're either very oily or tacky.
Right.
People don't like that feel. Part of me says you just need to kind of buck up. It does.
Yeah.
At some point, and there are some there's some nice creams out there. And there are some that, some of them more either, I'll put my own plug in, the sunscreens that I have or that we have now through PCA's skin line out at our family practice clinic is a very wonderful sunscreen that also has moisturizer in it. So you slap it on in the morning, get that on your face or throughout your day, and it doesn't have that feel. Okay. But you should have sunscreen on underneath your makeup. Most makeup only gives you about a 15.
Right.
So it's just not enough protection for you.
Okay. Well, one of these days, the rain's going to quit. And
Yes.
the snow's going to
Yes.
come out, and the sun's going to come out. And it kind of feels like, since we're not getting any spring, or else we had our spring before winter, we're going to go right into summer.
Right.
And so we're all going to be having these problems because we're all going to want to go outside.
That's right. And UVA is all year. UVB, yes, it's going to peak from 10 to 4. We've all heard about that too. That's when that UV, that burning ray, will peak. But the UVA, those aging rays, they can come through your office window. So, my point being, again, if we can just somehow develop that habit of protecting ourselves and doing that, we're just all going to be much better off.
That's right. Okay, well, we thank you for being here with
Thank
us
you.
today.
I very much appreciate it.
You bet. And we hope that you'll take these words of wisdom and use them as we go into the summer. Thank you for being with us today. This has been Chamber Chat, brought to you by Mansmith's Pharmacy, where your care is their only concern.
This has been Chamber Chat on Chamber Channel 3 and 117.2, brought to you by Mansmith's Pharmacy.